study is going to be about the birth of Moses in Egypt, his life, and the 10 plagues. So let's get right into it. Let's go to our Bibles and go to Genesis chapter 50 and verse 22. And it says, and this is starting just before the birth of Moses. It says, "And Joseph dwelt in Egypt, he and his father's house. And Joseph lived 110 years. In verse 24 it says, "And Joseph said unto his brethren, I die, and God will surely visit you and bring you out of this land unto the land which he sware to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. And Joseph took an oath of the children of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and ye shall carry up my bones from hence. So Joseph died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt." So now we're going to skip to where Pharaoh is oppressing the Israelites, and when Moses comes into this picture. It says, "Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies, and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land." So he put taskmasters over them because they were slaves in the land of Egypt to build for Pharaoh, so Pharaoh could increase his kingdom, get richer, and more popular. So in verse 12 it says, "But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor." So they did not let them have a break. They were working, or else you were whipped. While you were working for Pharaoh, being a slave. He saw a good opportunity to get rich. And verse 14 it says, "And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor." So then Pharaoh is like, we've got to do something about this. They're growing too big. They're going to create an army and go against us, and we're going to lose because we don't have enough people. So he talks to the midwives, and he says, when the Israelites have a man-child, he shall be cast into the river, slain. If it's a girl, it's fine, because then they didn't fight back then. So he's like, let's get rid of the fighting people. Let's not allow that. We're going to lose to them. And in verse 17 it says, "But the midwives feared God, and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men children alive. And the king of Egypt called for the midwives, and said unto them, Why have ye done this thing, and have saved the men children alive? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, Because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively, and are delivered ere the midwives come in unto them. Therefore God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied, and waxed very mighty." So he charged everyone that they may throw their men children, their boys that were born, into the river. So there's a boy that's born in a home, and of course the mother is attached to it, of course, and so she hides it until it's getting a few months old. Once it gets a little bit older, she can't hide it much anymore. And so she thinks, well, the king told us, throw them in the river. But he didn't tell us we could put them on the river. So she goes to weaving a basket. And she puts baby Moses in the basket, in the river, in the reeds, so it doesn't float away. And Moses' sister watches over nearby. Well, what she was hoping would happen, happened. The daughter of Pharaoh liked to bathe in the river in that area. And so, what does she find with her servants? She finds a basket with a baby and falls in love with it. Keeps it, and at that point, Moses' sister comes out from the reeds and says, do you want me to get a midwife for you, to a servant to take care of the baby for you? And Pharaoh's daughter said, yes, I need someone that can take care of it for me, and I want this as my child. So, what's Miriam do? The sister goes back to its mother, gets her mother, Moses' mother, Miriam's mother. And so, up until about the age 12, Moses was taken care of by his mother, with the blessing of Pharaoh's daughter, because it was Pharaoh's son. She had adopted him. So then he was trained as an Egyptian, to be a mighty man of war. He has all the Egyptian palace things that are available to them. So then he ends up killing a Egyptian and flees into the wilderness. And there he meets with God in the burning bush, which y'all are probably aware of. Meets with God in the burning bush, and God tells him that he is the chosen one to bring his people out of the land of Egypt. But Moses is like, I can't do that. I can't do that. Everybody hates me there. Some of the people know that I killed a guy. God says, what's in your hand? He says, a rod, a walking stick. God says, throw it on the ground. So he throws it on the ground and it turns into a snake. He takes off running. God's like, wait a second, pick it up by the tail. So he catches it by the tail and it turns back into a rod. God has him put his hand inside his cloak. When he pulls it out, it's leprosy. And he puts it back in and brings it back out, and it's regular skin. And God says, through these signs, we will show the king, the Pharaoh of Egypt, that I'm working through you, that God is working through Moses, and that he is to let the Israelites go to their homeland. So, he goes to Pharaoh with his brother, Aaron, and they do these things. Pharaoh's magicians do the same. So then, the plagues come, because Pharaoh did not believe them and would not let the people go. Of course he's not going to let them go. He's making a lot of money off of them. He doesn't want to let them go because they are making him a lot of money building up his cities, and it's slaves, so he doesn't have to pay them. So, God talks to Moses and says, I'm going to send plagues on Egypt. And the first plague is the water was turned to blood. In Exodus 7, verse 20, we see it says, and Moses and Aaron did so as the Lord commanded. And he lifted up the rod and smote the waters that were in the river in the sight of Pharaoh, and in the sight of his servants, and all the waters that were in the river were turned to blood. And the fish that were in the river died, and the river stank. And the Egyptians could not drink of the water of the river, and there was blood throughout all the land of Egypt. Then, of course, Pharaoh's like, okay, I'll let the people go. Just take this plague away. So he takes it away. Pharaoh's heart is hardened. He's like, no, you're not going anywhere. So the second plague comes. Frogs. In chapter 8, verse 6, it says, of Exodus, "And Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt." And Pharaoh tells his magicians, get rid of these things, and instead of getting rid of them, they ended up making more with their magic. And Pharaoh's like, no, get rid of them. So he calls Moses and Aaron back in, and he says, okay, I'm really sorry, I'll let your people go, just take away all these frogs. So God takes away the frogs. Pharaoh's heart is hardened. He says, no, I'm not letting you go. So then the third plague in Exodus 8, verse 17, "And they did so, for Aaron stretched out his hand with his rod, and smote the dust of the earth, and it became lice in man and in beast. All the dust of the land became lice through all the land of Egypt." Verse 19, "Then the magician said unto Pharaoh, This is the finger of God. And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he hearkened not unto them as the Lord had said." And the fourth plague, they have flies. They have all these flies, and I'm going to go through this for the sake of time quicker. And the same thing happens again. Okay, please, I'll take away this plague and I'll let your people go. Then his heart's hardened. So then the next plague, and that is the Egyptian livestock all dies. All of their livestock dies. Not the Israelite livestock did not die, but the livestock of the Egyptians did. And of course Pharaoh's sorry. He says, I'll let you go. This whole cycle again, he says no, his heart is hardened more. So the sixth plague was boils. He, that is Moses, sprinkled ashes in front of Pharaoh, and the land was covered in boils. Boils are on people. They would be, I don't really know how to explain them, but as you can see here on the picture, they're not comfortable. Then the seventh plague, this whole cycle goes over again. Pharaoh says, I'm sorry, I'll let your people go. Please take away the plague. His heart is hardened. It starts all over again, the same cycle. Seventh plague is hail. Destroys a lot of things. Same cycle happens again. Then we have the eighth plague, and it's locusts. They come through and they eat everything in the land of the Egyptians. They eat all of the plants, all the herbs, all the greenery, everything. It's eaten. Same cycle happens again. I'm so sorry. I'll let you go. No, you're not leaving. His heart is hardened. Then we have the ninth plague, which is darkness. Darkness fell upon the land, so dark that no man could see. Whole cycle happens all over again. And then the 10th plague. The slaughtering angel goes through by night and kills the firstborn of the Egyptians, man and beast. Kills the firstborn. And then at this point, this is as far as we're going to go in this story for this video. But through all of this, we need to realize that our hearts need to be softened by God and not hardened. Because it was not God, per se, that hardened his heart. It was the workings that God did that in turn, Pharaoh hardened his own heart against God. He was like, I'm the sun god, I'm king. There's no God over me. Of course, he admitted that he wasn't while he was suffering with all the plagues, but as soon as one of the plagues would be taken away, he was back to his mindset. So we need to be humble. And through this with Moses had a very interesting upbringing in life, being for the first few years taught by his mother, and then the later years taught by the Egyptians. He has quite the work ahead of him, as we'll see in the next video, as they leave the land of Egypt. I hope this video has been a help to you. If you have any specific Bible stories you would like me to talk about, please comment in the video below. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and walk with God.